Right now, 1 out of every $3 in the most popular investment on the entire planet is riding on just 7 stocks. Not 500, 7. And the fund doing that to your money is the one everybody calls the safe one, the boring one, the responsible, grown-up, set-it-and-forget-it choice sitting in your 401k right this second. The S&P 500. 500 of America's biggest companies, all in one tidy basket, diversified, bulletproof. It is diversified, about the way a magician's assistant is sawed in half, because that index of 500 companies has quietly turned into 7 stocks, standing on each other's shoulders, wearing one enormous 500-company trench coat, and nobody sent you the memo. So let me open the coat, because once you see what is actually inside your index fund, you cannot unsee it. Here is the promise you were sold, and honestly, it is a good one. Don't try to pick winners, just buy all of them. Buy the whole American market in one click, sit back, and let 500 companies share the load. If a few of them blow up, who cares? You own the other 490-something. That is the entire point. Safety in numbers. But there is a catch buried in how the index is built, and that catch is the whole story. An S&P 500 fund does not put your money into 500 equal slices. It weights every company by size. The bigger the company, the bigger the bite of your money it gets. Therefore, the giants don't just sit inside the index, they are the index. The smallest 200 companies combined barely move the needle. The biggest 7 move everything. So who are the 7 in the trench coat? Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Alphabet, which is Google, Amazon, Meta, which is Facebook, and Tesla. Together, about $22 trillion, roughly a third of the entire 500. Worth more on their own than every public company in Europe put together. Now, maybe you're thinking, fine, they're big, so what? Here is the number that should make you sit up straight. There are actually 2 versions of the S&P 500. The normal one, weighted by size, is the one in your retirement account. There's also an equal weight version, where all 500 companies get the exact same slice, same 500 names. In the normal one, those 7 stocks are about a third of your money. In the equal weight one, they are 1.5%. Same 7 companies, roughly 20 times the grip on your money. The only difference is the trench coat. By the market's own math, the 500 stock index now behaves like an index of about 50 stocks. Goldman Sachs says it is the most concentrated the American market has been since 1932. 1932. That is not a soothing year to be compared to. So how did the safe, boring index quietly become a bet on 7 names? Here's the genuinely sneaky part. It did it automatically, with your help. Every time money flows into an index fund, and it does, out of your paycheck, every 2 weeks, on autopilot, it buys all 500 stocks in proportion to their size. So the biggest stocks get the biggest slice of every new dollar, which makes them bigger, which means they get an even bigger slice of the next dollar. The strategist Michael Green describes it, in his words, as a fire hose, concentrating a flow of capital into a crowded theater. The money doesn't think. It just feeds the giants because they're giant, which makes them more giant. It is a machine that buys high, forever, on purpose, and it is buying with your retirement. And here's where the trench coat gets top-heavy, because those 7 passengers are not the same size. One of them is standing on everyone else's shoulders, Nvidia, the chip company powering the entire AI boom. As I record this, it is worth around $4.8 trillion, the most valuable company in the history of the world. It is the single biggest stock the index has held since records began in 1981. One company is almost 8 cents out of every dollar in your fund, which means your diversified index now has a very specific weather system. On one ordinary day, when Nvidia fell 4%, that one stock dragged the entire 500 company index down by itself. One stock, 500 companies, and the other 499 just went along for the ride. And it gets funnier. Strip Nvidia out of the group, and the other 6 megastocks grew their profits slower last quarter than the boring 493 you forgot you owned. So it's not really 7 stocks in a trench coat. It's mostly one very tall robot, and 6 friends helping with the collar. So the whole tower leans on one question. What is holding Nvidia up? And the answer gets a little bit Enron. Nvidia sells the chips that run AI. Its customers are companies like OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT. But those customers need tens of billions of dollars to buy those chips. So where does that money come from? Increasingly, from Nvidia. Nvidia agreed to invest around $30 billion into OpenAI. OpenAI then turns around and spends staggering sums on computing power from companies that go out and buy Nvidia chips. Nvidia even promised to buy up one data center company's unused capacity to the tune of $6 billion. The money goes out one door and comes back in another. And every time it laps the track, it counts as brand new revenue. The big tech companies plan to spend around $700 billion building AI this year alone, and they are earning back a small fraction of that in actual AI revenue. Jim Chanos, the famous short seller who called Enron, put it flatly. Piling arcane financial structures on top of money-losing companies, he said, is the real Achilles heel here. Now, in fairness, Nvidia says this is nonsense. It sent shareholders a 7-page letter insisting demand is real and there is nothing circular about it. And they might be right. The chips are sold out. But you should always notice when the tallest guy in the trench coat is holding his own ladder. And the smart money has noticed. Torsten Slok is the chief economist at Apollo, one of the largest investment firms on Earth. This is not some doomer on the internet. And he wrote, quote, "The top 10 companies in the S&P 500 today are more overvalued than they were in the 1990s. The 1990s. The dot-com bubble. He is saying it is worse now. And that word, .com, is the part you actually need to hear, because we have seen a trench coat exactly like this one before. Let me tell you about a company called Cisco. It is March of the year 2000. Cisco builds the plumbing of the internet, and the internet is the future, so Cisco is unstoppable. On one single day, it passes Microsoft to become the most valuable company in the world, over $500 billion. And if you owned a retirement account, you owned a big fat slice of it, because the index made sure you did. Cisco was the Nvidia of its day. Then the trench coat opened. Cisco stock fell almost 90%, from about $80 a share to under $9. And here's the part that should genuinely get you, because it's the honest part. Cisco, the company, was fine. It kept growing. It kept making money for the next 25 years. This was not a fraud, not a pets.com, not a zero. It was a great business at an insane price. And the price is the part you would have paid. If you bought Cisco at that peak, you did not break even for 25 years. The stock did not set a new record until December of last year. A quarter of a century, just to get your money back. Not to profit, to break even. A baby born the day you bought could have finished college before your safe stock came home. We even ran this exact play in the 1970s with a pack of untouchable blue chips they called the Nifty 50. Same story. Wonderful companies, insane prices, then a brutal decade. Two of the darlings, Polaroid and Kodak, eventually went bankrupt entirely. So no, the danger is not that these are bad companies. They are spectacular companies. The danger is the price and the fact that you never got to choose the dose. And you don't even need a crash to feel it. Earlier this year, those 7 megastocks wobbled and slid as a group, while the other 493 quietly did fine. Your diversified fund fell anyway, because the 7 are the fund. When the trenchcoat trips, there is nothing underneath to catch it. And this is the broke on purpose part. The part nobody printed on a form for you to sign. Nobody ever sat you down and asked, "Hey, would you like a third of your retirement riding on 7 tech stocks that all rise and fall together?" The index just did it. Quietly. A little more with every paycheck. And if you own a target date fund and an S&P index fund, thinking you're spreading your bets, surprise, you own the same 7 twice. Meanwhile, the people who do this for a living are edging toward the doors. Michael Burry, the guy from The Big Short, has bet real money against this AI trade and posted, quote, "Sometimes the only winning move is not to play." David Einhorn calls this the most expensive market, in his words, arguably in the history of the United States. They might be early. Early is not the same as wrong. But it is a strange feeling, being the last one still buying, while the smartest people in the room quietly stop. Okay, deep breath. Let me be an honest guide here, because I will not sell you a panic. This is not me telling you the market crashes on Tuesday. It might not crash at all. These 7 are wildly profitable, real businesses making real money, about $600 billion a year between them. That is nothing like the empty dot-com shells. And here's a fact the doom crowd hates. When the market has been this concentrated before, it went up more often than down over the next year. Concentration is a warning label. It is not a countdown clock. Nobody, me included, can tell you when. And buying the whole index is still the best deal most people have ever been handed. Warren Buffett bet $1 million on exactly that and won. So do not sell your index fund because a guy who draws in MS Paint made a video. Just know what you're holding. That is the entire job here. You did not buy 500 companies. You bought about 7 in a trench coat led by one very tall robot. It might work out beautifully, but it is a bet. It was always a bet. They just forgot to mention that you had placed it. So the next time someone tells you the market is at record highs, remember what the market actually is right now. 7 stocks, 1 trench coat, and a whole lot of people who are certain they're diversified. The bull market isn't a herd, it's a coat. If catching this stuff early, before it quietly costs you, is your kind of thing, subscribe. That is the whole job here. How people lose money, so you don't. Next time, I'm breaking down exactly who is quietly selling the top, while everyone else is busy buying it. See you then.